to the newest Web of Thought series. I don't know if I'm going to do all of the spin-offs, but I definitely want to do the main trilogy of The Conjuring. The Conjuring is a 2013 film written by Chad and Carrie W. Hayes and directed by one of my favorite directors working today, James Wan. James Wan was drawn to the story because of its basis in realism and how it's based on real people, and he could have done it as a biography of sorts, which he had never done before. And I should state before I get into anything, I'm going to be spoiling stuff, so if you haven't seen the movie, I cannot recommend it enough, and I implore you to go do so. As well of that, I really like it, so I'm a bit biased. So if I don't win you over, if you just want to hear somebody talk about it, then this is the spot for you. Be sure to hit this button. I should also state that my first experience watching this movie was over the summer of 2016. I had seen Conjuring 2 month or 2 months prior with a group of friends at a near midnight showing. When we left, there was like 2 or 3 employees just kind of cleaning up the theater. It was a really fun experience, and I had no attachment to the Conjuring universe or James Wan as a whole. Or really, that was one of the first horror movies I ever got to see in a movie theater. So Conjuring 2 really holds a special place to me, but the first one's really fun as well. It's a really well-made horror movie, and it does a lot of good things in the scares. There's, like, not many flaws with this as a whole. Consider this a spoiler warning. So if you have not seen the movie, go away. 3, 2, 1. Everybody dies. Just kidding. The story is divided into 2 paths until they converge. But to summarize, we meet Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are doing a presentation at a school, saying what they do, and they're ghost hunters, demon hunters, paranormal investigators. Call it what you want. They're played by Patrick Wilson for Ed Warren and Vera Farmiga for Lorraine Warren. The work that they do is for the stuff that people cannot explain. Stuff that cops can't help, ambulance can't help, fire truck can't help. Then they come in because there's no explanation for it. Call in these 2, the Warrens. It should also be noted that Lorraine has a gift where she has like premonitions, and she can see demons and ghosts and stuff in a way that other people can't, and that's important in this movie. Ed isn't gifted in any way of that sort, but he tries his best. He supports her. You know how I said that was their job? I don't remember seeing any transactions or, like, transfers of funds to the Warrens, be it private or corporate or anything. I don't even think the church pays them. There was no donations. How are they making a living? Slight detour now, we should talk about the Perrin family. They're moving into this lovely new home with no problems whatsoever, and they will live there until the very end, and they'll be happy forever. They're a family of 7, they do not have it easy. The mother, Carolyn Perrin, played by Lily Taylor, gets it the worst. The most evil of the demons, because apparently there's like 10 of them. Bathsheba, she's trying to take over Carolyn's body via possession. That's always fun. Oh, and when she possesses her, she wants to take out her 2 youngest daughters, because why not? A sacrifice. It's nice. But anyways, I jumped ahead a little bit there. Bathsheba slowly starts weakening Carolyn, bruises her, makes her fatigued. She pukes in her mouth. And then the youngest of the daughters finds a little trinket outside by the nice cool tree that's in front of the house. And with that trinket, the youngest daughter makes an imaginary friend named Rory. I should also state that at one point in the movie, that little nice ghost boy Rory, the poor mother, she's just trying to look for daughters, and she keeps hearing a clap noise because that's what her daughters play, hide and clap. But she goes down into the dark basement, and Rory goes up behind her ears, and now she's in the pitch dark. Not cool, Rory. Not cool. Alright, so Carolyn, after going through all of this, decides, I gotta go down to one of those Warren presentations. So she meets up with them, persuades them to go back to the house. They're hesitant because generally nothing's happening. She gets Lorraine to get on board, and head on over. When they get there, Lorraine can feel bad vibes in the area. And then when she goes out to the backyard to that tree again, lovely tree, she can see a dead woman. Not really a gift, more of a curse. And now the Warrens decide they're gonna help the family. It's saved. End of the movie. Oh wait, they need to gather evidence first. Great. It's in this phase of the movie where the Warrens set up shop at the Perrin estate, and they are going in with infrared cameras, UV lights, and some extremely sophisticated sound technology for the time. After seeing some of the scares that are going on in the house firsthand, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they now kind of have evidence, but not enough, but I'll get back to that later. Lorraine and Carolyn have a nice little chat at a fireplace where she discusses one of her favorite memories with her family. That'll be important later. The picture is really nice. It was on their way to the new house, and they stopped and took a picture. So to cut ahead a bit, I can't really show you the footage because I don't want to get the channel dinged, so you just gotta stare at me. I'm sorry to do this to you. I don't know the ins and the outs yet. Scary things ensue. Basically, Ed and Lorraine Warren show the evidence gathered to the church, but they still think they can't authorize an exorcism fast enough in order to help the family, because they're kind of on a tight timer. Like, for example, I don't know the exact timeline in the movie, but it's like, we need 2 days. Sorry, fastest we can do is 2 weeks. So now, Ed and Lorraine Warren go back to the house empty-handed, and there we go, movie's over. Except, Ed says he's gonna do it himself. Not in the moment, but he does end up doing it himself. He knows how to do it, but he's not authorized. It should also be noted that Bathsheba, because Lorraine Warren and her daughter Judy, they had these pendants made for each other so that they could always be with each other. Bathsheba's able to teleport through one pendant to the other at the Warren house and terrorize the daughter somehow. I don't know how that works, but sure. But yeah, good for Ed for taking it out, protecting the family. Build up the tension. Scare! And then go on when I'm just summarizing the plot, so I apologize for jumping ahead and back and forth a little bit, but I'm going under the assumption you've already seen the movie or you don't care. The family is in a motel. The Warrens call them and say, hey, meet me at the house, stuff's going down. But anyways, now they're at the house and they start performing the exorcism, and they have this really cool looking shot where they throw a sheet over her and she starts coughing out blood, and it's just red spots now, like here. It's a cool visual. It starts getting ripped so you can see the eye. Oh yeah, and Carolyn can fly now. But yeah, at the end of the day, they saved the day, and we can move on. They performed an exorcism. The Perrin family is good. I didn't mention all of them because most of the characters don't play a massive role in the story. It's just really the mother that matters and the daughters. I wrote a note. Let's see here. My apologies for almost going beat for beat on the main story bits, then jumping over the scares themselves in this horror movie review / analytical piece, but it really can't do it justice. Like, Judy wakes up, Judy's necklace is moving, Judy enters hall, Judy sees haunted room is open, Judy sees Annabelle. It gets slightly tedious, but regardless, we're at the thoughts portion now. I love this movie. At its core, it's just a possession into an exorcism, but what makes it special is the characters. You really want everyone to survive in this one. I don't think there's a body count. Nobody dies, so it's nice in that regard. It's not often that you get into a horror movie like that. It's also nice to see that the characters do proper deduction, and it's not just, you called us? We're on our way. Let's go take out them ghosts. It's not. You're being stupid. Oh, maybe you have a point. Shoot. Bathsheba had it coming. It's a really, really good PG-13 horror movie, which actually, wait. It's rated R for being scary? What? The Conjuring, just a darn good and intense horror flick that I think everyone should watch. That apparently is rated R. I thought it was PG-13. Today I learned you can be rated R for being scary. The music in The Conjuring is composed by Joseph Bishara. Apologies if I messed that up. And it fits really well, but it's not really something that you'll find yourself listening to. It's nice. That said, when I was writing this, there's one track, I think it's the third track. It went from like nothing to a scream. I jumped and then laughed at myself, but just be wary if you're listening to it, there are jump scares in the soundtrack. Set design was done by a combination of Julie Berghoff, Jeffrey S. Grimsman, and Sophie Neudofer. Again, I'm awful with names, but those are the names of the people that did the set design on this movie. The haunted house itself was really cool, and one thing I didn't know before I watched all the behind the scenes stuff was that it was a set. I thought it was an actual house, which makes me feel kind of dumb. My favorite part of the set is definitely the tree outside. One thing, I need to bring this up, because I'm starting this series, and I'm probably going to do more of his movies. Has anybody noticed that James Wan has this very specific type of house that he does? You walk in the front door, there's a hallway down to the kitchen, there's like the living room to the left, there's an office to the right, and then there's steps right beside the long hallway that go upstairs. Every house opens that way for him. It happens in Insidious 1, Insidious 2, Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2. Pretty sure there's others. I haven't seen Malignant yet, but I'm willing to bet that's in Malignant. Editing and camera work is also really good as well. The cameraman, from the best of what I can tell, because I was reading on IMDb, it didn't really help me, was John R. Leonetti. Again, sorry with names. And editing was by Kirk M. Morey. I think I got that right. With all that in mind, I've touched on story beats, my opinions, people behind the scenes, the notable people at least. And I just want to say anybody that I didn't mention that worked on this movie, it's a really fun horror movie, and I really appreciate all the work that went into it. And I really hope anybody that watches the movie watches the credits so that they know everybody that put work into this project. So, fun little behind the scenes things that I looked up. The Blu-ray unfortunately didn't have much in the way of special features, but from what I did find was that James Wan never intends to trick, you idiot. James Wan never intends to trick his viewer. He always wants the scares, specifically jump scares, to feel legitimate, not like a cat, like an Amityville Horror. He wants it to be the thing to fear. Like if you have the villain jump scare you, not a cat or another person tapping the shoulder or something. It has to be a threat that scares the person. I really appreciate that. From the initial script process, obviously scripts always get rewritten all the time, but from when James Wan came on board to when the final project happened, he actually removed a lot of scares because he wanted to build characters and build tension more so than just scare the audience. Do it. And I think it worked out for the best. The production team built a 50-foot tall tree for the film? It's a lot of effort. So what are your thoughts on this film? I'm a huge fan of it. I hold it at a 5-star rating on Letterboxd, which my link for that's down below. It's practically a perfect horror movie to me in execution, the ideas at play, and characters. The plot is a little thin, which is a downside to some people, but when you have a thin plot, you can allow for better character work, and that's where this movie really shines. It's not particularly scary to me, but not many things are anymore. I can definitely see people having issues finishing this movie though, especially if they haven't seen it before, because it is scary to some people, but I think I've just become desensitized at this point. The based on a real story part is heavily expanded on and embellished for the purposes of the film, but who really cares? It literally just says based on a true story. It's not saying this is an accurate retelling of a story that happened in the 70s. It's based on that story. So that's important to know. Don't go in being like, what? How did this happen? That don't make sense. This is stupid. The daughter's too young. I cannot recommend this movie enough, and I hope you go check it out if you haven't seen it. And why did you watch the video? I hope I sold you on it if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, I hope you liked it as much as I did. Next one's going to be Conjuring 2. I believe there's a commentary track, so I should be able to get some more information out there. But that's all. Thank you for watching. Stop recording.